Hey everyone. So I haven't had a chance to give my thoughts on this whole situation going on in AEW because I know a lot of people are just getting sick and tired of all the drama, unnecessary or basically probably blown out of proportions, as it is, that's going on in that company. And I don't blame anybody for feeling that way because honestly, when you tune into a pro wrestling company, you tune in to watch good pro wrestling, if that's your main prerogative, or you tune in to watch good pro wrestling along with the storytelling that goes along with it. Or you just tune in to entertain yourself for the next 2 hours, hour and a half after a stressful day at work. Let's be honest. Some of us do that. But the last thing you want to tune into is a wrestling show where especially if you're a fan, hardcore, casual, in between, where or you hear about drama going on behind the scenes. And yeah, apparently drama still consists within AEW behind the scenes, especially when it comes to, CM Punk and Tony Khan and now Dave Meltzer and Jon Moxley and Chris Jericho. It's just one of those kind of dramas that you think, with one of the parties that's involved, you think all drama involving that party would die off and we wouldn't hear that much about any drama. But, yet here we go again. And this all stems from basically something that Dave Meltzer talked about with CM Punk, and it also all stems apparently from CM Punk writing a foreword for Steve Keirn, formerly Skinner, formerly one half of the Fabulous Ones tag team back in the 80s, a foreword that CM Punk had wrote in Steve Keirn's book about forgiveness. And apparently, this, along with what Meltzer reported and, stuff like that, was enough to really cause a domino effect of reigniting that drama. Because what came out of this was Meltzer reported something, falsely about CM Punk. And everybody else has pretty much come out and said that it's pretty much so. And CM Punk then went on I guess you could say, an Instagram tirade that I talked about recently in a Topics on My Mind deal. Not once, but twice. He went on an Instagram tirade, if you will, and then quickly deleted it. I guess realizing that he shouldn't have said that if he wants to try to come back. Well, Jon Moxley, who was also mentioned in there, talked about it just briefly during his interview yesterday on his wife Renee Parquette on her podcast. He talked about it very briefly, and long story short, yeah. It seems that the person that should be blamed the most for this, outside of the parties that I talked about, like, CM Punk, Jon Moxley, Chris Jericho, and Meltzer, the one person that really should take the blame is Tony Khan. Let's be honest. That is the person who owns the company, owns and runs the company. He should be the one that should take the blame because he's the one in charge of said company. It is true. He is the one in charge of said company. So he's the one that should bear responsibility for this mess happening behind the scenes in his own company. Now, some people have given him credit that when the whole drama initially started back in August with Brawl Out, the brawl that happened after the media scrum that Punk was part of, where he went on his, surprisingly big tirade, basically burying, the elite and the company and all that. right in front of Tony Khan, who didn't really say anything, which a lot of people, even JD, JD from NY206, who's a strong supporter and advocate for AEW, and Tony Khan, even JD, called, TK out for that because he didn't do anything. He just sat there, as JD put it in his recent off the script extra, OTS extra, if you will, as, acting like him and Punk were at the bar having a few rounds, and Punk was just giving giving people story time of old on the road stories, if you will. So yeah, the person that this should all be laid at the feet at as being responsible and not taking responsibility and not taking action is Tony Khan. At the end of the day, it's his fault. It's his company that he's allowing this to happen in. And again, people give him credit for the fact that what he did initially after the brawl situation was suspend all parties involved because of legal action and da. But yet for Tony Khan to basically only get credit for that, just to make himself look good, and then allow all this other crap to happen behind the scenes, maybe some we don't even know about, all because he doesn't want to take responsibility, all because, as Jeff Siegel of OTR Central and the Slick Daddy TV said in a recent video, all because Tony Khan, as we've all pointed out, seems to be acting nothing more than as a fan, a hardcore fan with lots of money that he got from his family to start his own promotion. Because he's acting more as a hardcore fan than an owner, a lot of crap is happening behind the scenes, that shouldn't, and that he should be squashing the moment he even gets a little bit of a hint of, hey, there might be an issue going on here, with some of your talent. You might want to do something about it. And that's the thing. Tony Khan is not doing anything about it. He's not really doing anything about it. He's not taking the responsibility he should have been taking long ago. The moment this whole brawl out situation happened, what Tony Khan should have done is basically hold a meeting after the suspension, tell everybody involved, hey, I've suspended so-and-sos because of what happened, and if any of you want to cause any more drama, I'll do the same thing, if not worse. He says, he should have basically done a meeting where he's like, instead of having Jericho and Moxley and Bryan Danielson, be essentially the centerpieces, the vocal points of that meeting to get everybody, on the same page. Tony Khan should have been the one going into that meeting, talking to the talent and saying what happened in that brawl that you may have heard of and everything. And the reason you don't see CM Punk or the Elite here is because of what happened and the actions I had to take to rectify that. And if any of you want to pull any more drama, any of you want to cause any more trouble, guess what? There's the door. Get out. I don't want you here. That's all he should have done. That's all he should have done. He should have been the one in that meeting, the Dynamite after All Out, talking to the talent instead of Moxley, Danielson and Jericho. He should have been the one, leading that meeting and basically telling people, hey, if any of you want to cause the same, that, CM Punk and the Elite caused after All Out, there's the door. I do not want you here. We are a family. We are about putting on a good pro wrestling show for the fans in attendance and at home. So if you don't want to be here because you don't like, the way things are structured or who you work with, there's the door. There's the door. And that's all he should have done, but he didn't do that. He left it to three non-AEW originals who, yes, rightfully do have the experience and everything to pull, to rally troops together and everything as leaders. But, he left it to them when it should have been him leading the pack. And, say what you will about Vince McMahon. when he was running things creatively and overall in WWE before that whole situation happened with him. Say what you will about him, at least he took responsibility for any crap that happened in that company. At least he took responsibility by talking to his talent in talent meetings to basically get certain things across. Like he's not gonna deal with any drama. If you don't want to be here, here's the door. He would hold the meeting himself. He would. And that's it. That's it. Or if he couldn't, guess what? He would have somebody he knows would get people in line to listen, and by getting that person to talk to the talent and getting them in line to listen, mission accomplished. And people that he get to do that would be like Stone Cold or The Undertaker and so on. The point is, despite what you may think about Vince before the whole situation happened, guess what? At least he took responsibility, for, squashing any behind the scenes drama that might, make his company look bad, but, with talent and everything. At least he squashed it, or had people he knew can make sure it gets squashed, talking to the talent and basically saying, hey, you don't want to be here, there's the door. We don't want you here, we're a team, we're a family. He took responsibility. Tony Khan, is not doing that. Tony Khan has yet to do that, really. He has yet to do that. All he ever cares about is coming out, making an announcement of, oh, I purchased Ring of Honor. Or, oh, we got a new reality show after Dynamite starting next month. That's all he cares about. That's all he cares about. Or, oh, we signed somebody now and they're now all elite. So what? So what? That's great and everything, but be a leader. Be responsible for your company, man. Be responsible for the company you run and basically take care of any issues that might arise. Even if you get the tiniest hint of something that's going to happen behind the scenes dramatically between talent, focus on that first than anything else. Focus on that first than anything else, and then once you take care of that, you can focus on whatever announcement you want to make. Because honestly, this is not a good look for your company. This is not a good look. Especially when you have CM Punk coming out and, you have CM Punk coming out and saying he wasn't medically cleared. And yet you insisted it would just be a quick squash that he'd have to do for Jon Moxley until All Out last year. It's like, did you not understand the part where he was or had sent legal documentation saying he can't do it? He didn't want to do it. And he thought the idea was stupid overall. Did you not, as a leader, did you not realize putting the world championship on a non-contracted wrestler in Jon Moxley at the time, who's under contract now, but wasn't at that time? Someone that, in his own words, said he could have easily walked into SummerSlam that week with the championship and no one would have batted an eye, really, because let me correct myself. Yes, they would have batted an eye, but legally there's nothing they could do because he's not under contract. I mean, where were your priorities, Tony? Let me ask you guys this. What is his priorities where he's not realizing that, hey, I got this legal documentation, possibly coming from Punk and his doctors and his lawyers saying, hey, he can't compete because of injury and everything, and maybe I should find another way around it. And, where's his priorities for ignoring that and saying, Punk, it'll just be a quick squash. Don't worry about it. It'll be a quick squash. And then where's his priorities? Where's his priorities for, realizing that, the world champion I'm crowning, interim or not, is not under contract to my company right now. And he could easily walk into a rival company with my title. It's like, especially a company like WWE on one of the biggest events of the years. It's like, where's his priority? Where's his thinking? There is none. There is none. And this is why he gets so much flack. This is why he gets so much flack as being nothing more than a hardcore wrestling fan posing as an owner that doesn't know what the hell he's doing. That's why people give him a lot of flack for that. Because all they see, as Jeff Siegel put it in a recent video, all they see is somebody that's a hardcore wrestling fan posing as an owner that has his own company thanks to his daddy's money. And, that shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be the case whatsoever. Tony Khan, if he needs to grow up. It doesn't matter if he has part ownership in a soccer team, part ownership in Jacksonville Jaguars. It doesn't matter what he's part owner in or full owner in. He needs to grow up and take responsibility for his actions. He needs to grow up and take responsibility for those actions. People tell me that sometimes, and it works. Because you know what? I get more focused on taking responsibility for what I have to do. I'm sure people out there, like those watching this video, listening to it audio-wise, get that as well from family and friends, being told to grow up and take responsibility. And guess what? When they get told that, most of the time, thankfully, sometimes not, but mostly, thankfully, it will work. It'll get them to understand, okay, I need to make this a priority right now. The point is, Tony Khan needs to start doing that. He needs to stop this kind of drama from happening. He needs to grow up, stop acting like a hardcore wrestling fan that has a lot of money that enabled him to have his own company and sign all this great talent and everything. He needs to stop acting like that, grow up, act like a full business owner, a full businessman, take responsibility for his actions, have a big old talent meeting, production meeting, whatever you want to call it, and basically say, enough's enough of this drama, and if you want to cause drama, you don't want to be here, you don't want to put your differences aside with certain people, there's the door, I don't want you here. That's what he needs to do. That's what he needs to do, because if he doesn't, this kind of BS will constantly keep happening, and everyone knows it. Everyone knows it. Everyone that strongly supports him, everyone that's in the middle, and everyone that kind of is getting on board but not really, they know it. So, in my opinion, in closing, because I got to get myself ready for work, I got to hop in the shower real quickly to get ready. In my opinion, he needs to basically take responsibility for his actions. He needs to squash any potential other drama that could be happening behind the scenes with his talent and his production crew. He needs to squash it now. And most and foremost, he needs to grow the F up, stop acting like a hardcore wrestling fan that has a lot of money that enabled him to have his own company and sign all this talent. He needs to grow the F up and start acting like a real business owner, promoter, and boss. That's what he needs to do. So, in closing, the one that takes the full responsibility for what's been going on behind the scenes dramatically with Punk, Moxley, Meltzer, Jericho, and so on, is Tony Khan himself. Yeah, they could take some of the blame too, there's no doubt, but the one that you really need to be pointing the finger at, the one that really should be taking the blame, is Tony Khan. Because he's letting this happen, and it shouldn't be. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Comment below. I got to get ready for work. And until next time, I'm out.